Alright, pretty much all apart. The only thing that needs to come out is the crank. But before I do that, I want to dedicate a bench, clean everything off, and set up some cardboard and stuff, and before I pull the crank and everything, because it's just so damn heavy. I don't want to be moving it around all the time. Interestingly enough, and I know this probably doesn't mean much to you guys, but you can see this thing has had all the mains grooved. This crank has been kind of in the family for a long time. We weren't sure that it was still in here. So that's kind of interesting find. The other thing that I found, I don't know, might be a little hard to see. All three center mains were pretty bad. Now, last time we went through this thing, we checked all the bearings and everything out. We pulled a couple caps and everything looked good. So that's probably just from dirt that was introduced the last time we had it apart. The harmonic balancer, boy, it's really bad. I'll show you that. Should have had this set up prior to filming, but wanted to make sure get all your plugs out before you take one to the shop. It sounds crazy, but they try to use really good care usually, but you never know. And the worst thing, you have somebody crack a block because they're trying to use too much heat or something to pull one out. Anyway, you can see where that rubber was coming right out of it. That very well could be the reason why the mains are as bad as they are. And what's worse is I knew it when it was going on back in the 90s. I knew that was bad. I just didn't take the time to replace it. I mean, you see here's a good one. Here's a new one. Says it was made in Mexico, which I find surprising. I'm sure it's just a reconditioned balancer. But yeah, so I knew that thing was bad back the last time I went through it, and I didn't change it. And I don't know why you do some of this, or why I did some of the dumb things I did when I was a kid. The oil pump that was in it had been in it for years as well, and I didn't change it the last time I went through it. And she had pretty low oil pressure, and I just kind of ignored it because it was good when it was off idle. But the mains are showing kind of the story there. But right now I'm going to go, this shop is an absolute disaster. There's a machining bench back there that's got like a lathe and some stuff on it. I'm thinking about cleaning all that off, partially because I don't want that lathe around with an open engine. So if I get all that cleaned up, then nobody can use it while I'm not around and get metal shards up in the air. I've got a high pressure washer in the back of my truck. I'm going to take and wash the whole thing down and scrape all my gasket surfaces and stuff like that, and get it prepped, and then measure my crank out. Hopefully, even though the mains look pretty shitty, the bearings anyway, hopefully the journals are good and they don't need to be turned, because the reason why we were wondering what crank was in it was because this thing had a bearing spun one time, so I know it's at least already 10. And I don't want to take it any more than that if I need to, and I know the history of this thing, and this crank has put up with a hell of a lot of abuse some years ago, and I know that grooving a crank is supposed to be bad because it reduces surface area, but I tend to go with what works sometimes. Alright, I'll get you updated once I get it bench cleared off, everything put away, and then engine cleaned up, and basically once I'm about ready to get out of here. Thanks. Alright, so here we are. I've cleaned up the crank. I've wiped it off and stuff, and measured it out, and everything's measuring to be just about good. The crank's 1010. Number 8, that was the one where I had a bad bearing. There seems to be a little bit of material possibly left on the crank, or maybe even a high spot that's measuring a little high. But where it's good, it's fine. The block, silly me, I don't know how or why, but I didn't realize it. I don't have a 4 to 5 inch mic, so I did the best I could with a dial caliper set in the board gauge, which isn't accurate and is not something I'm going to actually use. Finally, I'm going to go by and pick up a 4 to 5 inch mic hopefully tomorrow morning. But it looks like This bank here is about 1/1000 to 2/1000 out of round. The other one seems to be good. Not even 1/1000 out of round and not even 1/1000 taper. But I have no idea what size that is because, you know, trying to use a dial caliper to set a bore gauge is just not going to work. Everything else is coming together pretty good. The main showed a significant amount of wear, which tells me that it probably was dirt, or it's that, you know, that harmonic balancer that I told you about. May have already told you about the mains, I'm not sure. But so this is where I'm at for the day. I'm not going to get any further without having a good good micrometer. So I was going to take and pressure wash all this stuff, but the weather has turned bad and it's raining and stuff, and the rain just doesn't come down hard enough to clean anything. But I did, you know, of course, leave my window open in my truck, so seat's sopping wet. But other than that, it's been a good day. Everything looks to be a little bit better than I thought. I was worried about that crank. If it will polish up and stay within 1/1000 or so, then I'm not going to grind it or have it ground, because I sure as hell ain't going to do it. But if it won't, and when they polish it, because there's some kind of dark spots and there's some ridges, it's really hard to see. Yeah, it's really hard to see on my phone. But there are a little bit of, see there, you can see there's a little bit of shadow here. But if it'll clean up, it'll clean up. If it won't, then it'll have to go 20/20. So it means it's going to be another week before I can order parts and everything. But I'm going to get that micrometer tomorrow morning, and then I'll update you on what it looks like it needs to go. All right, thanks.